All right, welcome to Always Bayern Chelsea. This is a very, very, very special video episode. In light of Bayern Munich's 2-2 draw against Arsenal in London in the Champions League. Go over to the YouTube channel to watch the video. I hope everything's working. Once again, it worked fine last time, so we're gonna just assume it's working now.
And if it worked when I was in Brussels, it better work when I'm in the great city of Milwaukee.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Um, but yeah, check us out on Apple and Spotify, YouTube, Twitter, all the places you check out podcasts and sports stuff. But yeah, we're here now. The night of April 9th, Tuesday. As I mentioned, the day of the 2-2 Champions League quarterfinals, first leg, Bayern Munich Arsenal match. As you can probably tell, I'm still amped up from it. Just the nerves and the excitement of a match like that just gets me going. So here we are to talk about it.
Massive match, awesome day of Champions League football. You had Arsenal and Bayern drawing. You also had Real Madrid and Manchester City drawing
Yep.
3-3. Two just insane, awesome matches to watch. I was trying to catch as much as I could while I was at work, enjoying my day of work at the office. But it was great to see both those matches, especially Bayern Munich, because that's awesome to see, especially Arsenal, who I hate. Love to see it.
Yeah. When the draw for the Champions League quarters came out, I thought to myself, these are the most like evenly matched matches that could have been possible. Like, does that make sense what I'm saying? Like I was like, oh, this is like the best possible matchup every single match.
I would agree. Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah, Barcelona, PSG, and Atletico and Dortmund.
yeah, and I mentioned it sucks that Real and Man City are facing each other now, but at the same time, you do want them to face each other. So I'd agree with that logic.
Yeah. Yeah. I completely agree with that. I wish we could see whatever, even if the final taking my alliance to Bayern out of it, like a Real City final would be awesome. But if it has to happen in the quarters, it has to happen in the quarters, and I'm glad that they're playing each other too. Um, yeah, so I mentioned at the top, the final score of Bayern and Arsenal, because that's what we're here to talk about, I guess, was 2-2. Um, do you have any like overarching thoughts on the match? Otherwise, I was gonna kind of just like give highlights and then give my player ratings and obviously give my overall thoughts about it too.
I can give just a brief overview because I didn't watch it as in depth as you did. Like I said, I
Hmm.
was in the office, but I was catching a fair amount of glimpses. And from what I did see, was that Arsenal started ahead with a goal, brilliant goal by Saka, but then just really didn't pounce on Bayern the way that they should have, especially playing at home. So I would say my kind of overarching theme is that Arsenal is a team that is just still inexperienced in the Champions League, as we kind of mentioned coming in. And Bayern, the more experienced team, really showed that because they were able to befuddle Arsenal in certain ways, kind of on the counterattack in some open space. And Arsenal probably had some chances they could have put away, and they just didn't do it. And that shows kind of that experience theme that we discussed going in, and that really just played out in front of us.
Yeah, that was in episode six, I think. So go back and listen to that if you wanna see us prove ourselves right slash wrong because my prediction was way off, but whatever, I'll take it. So now I'll jump in and give my overall thoughts, I guess, on the match before taking a little bit of a deeper dive. But yeah, my overall thoughts are that a 2-2 draw is fair, like based off how the match went. I don't think that Arsenal clearly dominated Bayern. I don't think Bayern clearly dominated Arsenal. I think that a 2-2 draw kind of is like what what it's a good representation of how the match was, if you ask me. But yeah, as a Bayern fan, you have to take that. Like going into London and um and getting a draw and then going back to Munich all square. Like especially with Bayern's form the last two matches, you really have to take that. Like Arsenal isn't a team that you can overlook. Obviously, they're a good side, and I thought that they were gonna get the win. So I still have hope for next week now.
Yeah, I would say if you're Bayern Munich, you're taking that 100 times out of 100. I mean, I know they had that chance toward the end that you could argue they should have put away. I think it was Coman.
Yeah, off the
Um,
post.
but I mean, yeah, you take a draw when you're going into London. You have zero fans. Let's not forget that.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think they mentioned there's 200 Bayern people there, like friends and family. But
They allotted like 200 to 400 tickets for like the owners of Bayern and like family of the players and stuff. Yeah.
maybe some ex-Spurs fans that Kane brought with him or something.
Yeah, exactly. Um, but yeah, the match kind of started off. Bayern looked like decent for the first 10 minutes. And
Yeah,
then the goal in the 12th minute from Saka like really put a damper on things. At that point, I thought, oh man, is this gonna be another collapse, incoming? Um, but thankfully Gnabry turned things around pretty quickly after that in the 18th minute with a goal of his own. A nice assist from Goretzka, who we'll get to. I think played pretty solid in the midfield overall the whole entire game. Um, but yeah, as Gnabry is known to do in London, he did some cooking. He is the chef. I feel horrible because he got injured at the end of the match, and based off how Tuchel and the Bayern bosses are talking, it doesn't sound good. It seemed like it was just a hamstring thing, but like I don't know, those can be tricky. So yeah, we'll
was
see.
that so?
We'll see.
Was that him that had the hamstring?
Yeah. And Gnabry's
Didn't
also just coming back from an injury. Like he's played
okay.
4 or 5 matches. I think 5 matches and then he like scored in 4 of them or something. He's been unreal since he came back.
Yeah,
Uh
I'll add too. I just based on the first start of the match, I agree with you. I was watching the first probably 10 minutes, and I was thinking that Bayern actually looked in control. It kind of felt like Arsenal was feeling them out or something. I thought it was kind of weird because I thought that Arsenal would start more aggressive, but Bayern looked better, obviously, until the Saka goal. And yeah, that Gnabry goal, the through ball to Goretzka, whoever passed that, great pass. And
yeah.
then his through ball to Gnabry was like identical kind of pass, how that worked out. And that was
Yep.
just really cool how that kind of came together. And then to finish, through the keeper's legs, kind of deflected off his leg. But yeah, just a great kind of double through ball there.
Yeah, and that's how Bayern can be dangerous when they're playing like that, when they're playing passes like that. Um and Gnabry, I think, is my man of the match too. We'll get to that in a little bit, but man, I this is something that I like don't even know how to describe or talk about, but you kind of mentioned things looking weird, like Arsenal kind of feeling Bayern out in the beginning. I was, and I still am, like thoroughly confused with Tuchel's tactics in this one. And I think like some of them worked out and some of them maybe didn't. It was such a strange match, especially not expecting Bayern to be in control. But Bayern actually had a handful of chances slash things that they could have done differently that I think would have actually given them more chances. And so like it's crazy to think that, but yeah, with the attacking situation with Gnabry, Musiala, and Sané, I don't know why Tuchel keeps putting Musiala in the middle because to me he's clearly so much better as a winger. And then that also like pushes Kane really far back. Like he had Kane in this role that I've talked about before, where Kane's like facilitating. And yeah, he's like a great passer. He's great at setting things up. But Bayern have other players that can do that role. And like, dude, Kane in the box, like that's what you have to do. that's who he is. He's the best finisher in the world.
Yeah, I agree. It is interesting if you don't have Kane in the box like that. In terms of the style of Tuchel, I don't know this for sure, but based on what I've seen from Chelsea fans I follow and from what I know about Chelsea's run with Tuchel at the helm when they won the Champions League a few years ago, I think the style was similar to kind of what Bayern was doing today, where you kind of probably know you're not going to dominate possession. You're going to try to focus on taking advantage of counterattacks and using those kind of flashes in the pan to score goals. It seems like that's kind of what Tuchel was doing a little bit, whether by design or not, just with the team that he has. But I also was seeing Bayern fans were saying, why doesn't Tuchel and Bayern do this more often? Where, yeah, you can dominate possession, but they should try countering more as they were doing today because it clearly works.
Yeah, it's really strange too, because it's like it works, and then Bayern got that lead, and then like clearly played very complacent, and maybe rightfully so. Like the end result 2-2, that's not bad. But yeah, like I was saying, I feel like they could have had even more chances. And I know there's some Bayern fans that want to see them play like ultra aggressive because they have really good players for that, and that's kind of how they've played like under Nagelsmann, under Flick, you know, like this really aggressive attacking style of play, where they would even concede a lot of goals, but then that they're just going to score three, four, five more goals. I mean, I'm talking Bundesliga, not necessarily Champions League, um, but yeah, it's interesting. And then the other interesting thing that I saw in this match time and time again was, and this has to be a tactic, but I think it's also a little bit of a gaff in play, but I don't know how many times I saw Serge Gnabry all the way back on the back line, like busting his ass to like m fix mistakes that Davies was making. And that, I mean, to have Gnabry like all the way on the front and then all the way on the back, you know, and because Davies would kind of make a mistake, not really try to get back, and then it's like up to Gnabry and like maybe Dyer if he can get there in time, but also like you're gonna, I don't know, you can't give someone like Saka that much space. Dyer's not gonna catch up to him.
Davies is definitely allergic to defense a lot of the time, which you just can't really have happen when you're going against Bukayo Saka. But that's kind of the way he is. So I don't know. It was interesting, and to kind of go back to the tactic and strategy Bayern was using. What I thought was interesting was the parts I was watching. It seemed like Bayern really has the types of players that suit the style well with the counterattacks. Because I will say the one thing about Davies I liked that I saw a couple times when there would be kind of a frantic counterattack play with just a bunch of space, he's so good at feeding into that space and just running.
Yep.
Gnabry was good at that. Sane was good at that. Kane's good with that. Musiala, obviously, with his speed. It seems like they really have players for that. So that kind of made it interesting too.
Yeah, it 100%. And that's why like throughout the year it's kind of like why aren't those players' strengths being utilized more? Um and especially too like with the midfield situation, which I thought the midfield was way better than I expected today. Maybe that was part of Tuchel's tactical plan, but Limer played better than he had been playing. Um, you know, he's he's just a player who I don't really think fits with Bayern, unfortunately. I think he was a guy who Nagelsmann wanted, got, and then Nagelsmann got sacked, and it's like they don't really know what to do with him. Tuchel doesn't really know what to do with him. Um, and Goretzka has constantly been switching roles from like a defensive midfielder, whereas today, where he played more like a like proper midfielder. Um, but yeah, those two were solid today, which is good. Maybe it was all part of the tactical plan that I like couldn't quite figure out, slash somehow it sort of worked.
And for a team like Arsenal that has a really good midfield with Odegaard, Declan Rice, even Jorginho, I mean, it was impressive that they held their own against those guys.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Um, okay, so I guess now I'm gonna kind of move along with the match. We're kind of taking some detours, but that's cool. Like that's kind of what we want. Good conversation like this. Um, So after it was 1-1, we saw an incredible run from Sané. Seemed like he just broke through the entire Arsenal squad, which he did a couple times during the match.
Yeah.
But this particular time, around the 30th minute, he broke through everybody. He was about to have a 1v1 on the goalie, and then I forget who it was, but someone just kind of ran into his legs to give him a penalty, which Harry Kane takes the penalty, buries it. He sees the keeper kind of move a little bit early, and then he slows down his run and just dribbles it. Well, not really dribbles it, but like just smoothly kicks it in.
Yeah, that
Um,
was nice. I mean, he made the keeper go the other way, and then, like you said, Smoothie puts it in that right side.
yeah, Kane, I saw said after the match that he studied the keeper and kind of saw like I guess his tells when he was gonna like when he's gonna go early, noticed that, and then from there it was just Kane did what he always does.
And he had some quote where he said how he gets a lot of pens against Arsenal and something along the lines of they love handing him pens or something. I thought that was funny.
Yeah. Well, I said this in the episode 6 preview, which everybody just needs to listen to, I guess. But yeah, he has a good track record against Arsenal, and I'm glad he got that one too. I'm glad that he showed up in a big moment. Warms my heart.
Great to see you against an old rival, that's for sure.
Yeah. Um, so then after that penalty, it really looked like Arsenal had no answer for Bayern in the end of the first half. Um, and then they made some subs in the beginning of the second half that I think were good. I think they were smart and they kind of like caught Bayern a little bit off guard. So you see the momentum kind of swing back and forth. Like I said, Sané had a couple of crazy runs. He had a one-on-one with the keeper at one point that he like waited a little bit too long to shoot, and then Arsenal caught up to him. Um, I'm trying to think who else. Maybe Goretzka. Goretzka had a couple of nice setups. I think Gnabry might have even had another chance or two. There was a handful of chances for Bayern and a handful of chances for Arsenal, um, until the like 78th, I think, minute was Arsenal's second goal, which you could kind of see coming. They had been building for a little bit. Um, it was a deserved goal.
Yeah, Trossard has been their super sub pretty much the entire year, has come in a lot of the time to give them a great boost off the bench. So not super surprising to see that. Yeah, the former Brighton player, Leandro Trossard, has been a great addition for Arsenal. There's no doubt about that. So great for Arsenal fans to see that he's always come in the clutch.
Totally. Um, yeah, after that second goal for Arsenal, the fourth goal of the match, leveling things off at 2-2. We saw, as you kind of mentioned earlier, there was I think it was, oh yeah, it was Kane to Musiala to Kingsley Coman, flick of the foot off the post. Man, inches away from being a winner in the dying minutes of the match. That would have been sick.
And that was right toward the end, too. So that probably would have been one of the last actions of the match and a winner.
Yeah, it was I think like the 89th or like the 90th. Like it was really close to the end. Um, but yeah, I don't know. Do you wanna talk about the what happened even after that?
Oh, that's right. When I say it was one of the last actions,
Yeah.
let's not forget. one of the all-time great Olympic dives, some are saying, or some are also saying one of the all-time worst non-calls in the history of the Champions League. If
Yep.
you're an Arsenal fan, that's what you'd be saying. But yeah, Saka, I forget if he was kind of cutting in or from a pass, but basically had a 1v1 against Neuer, and he kind of hits the ball to his left to try to go to the side of Neuer,
Yep.
and then he basically just kind of runs into him, is what it looks like. Some are saying he tried to put his right leg out to purposely be able to dive and draw a pen. I don't know. It was kind of weird because you'd think if he's really trying to score, he would have went more toward the ball to the left to get
Yeah, towards the
around him,
left. Yep.
or just try to get it over or around Neuer to begin with and score the goal. I don't know. It was weird by Neuer too, I thought, because he really wasn't close to getting the ball or like trying to stop him in any way either. It was just really kind of a mess. And I think that's why the ref ultimately just said, "Hey, I'm not saying anything."
Yeah. I think that's a perfect explanation of it. Obviously whatever I say is going to be tilted pretty far in one direction. But I will say that I had even texted you earlier during the match noting on how I really liked the officiating. I really liked how things were getting pretty physical and he kind of just let him play throughout the entire match. Um, Saka himself had a pretty I don't know how I want to word this, but there was a play where Musiala was dribbling through with his moose magic and Saka kind of kicked his leg and Moose went down and then play just resumed, which that seemed how the match was being officiated the whole time and I personally liked that. I thought it was made things more interesting.
Yeah, it looks like only three yellow cards and at least two that I can remember, were deserving of yellows. There was one when Party came in for Arsenal and got a yellow right away,
Yeah,
clear yellow. And I think at that point it was later in the match, so the ref kind of had to start calling a little bit of the fouls. But
yep,
yeah, I obviously love it when refs let them play a little bit, at least to start, kind of in the first half. As things build, if a player does things multiple times, you can't let them get away with it. You have to give them a yellow.
totally.
It's kind of like an accumulated yellow, I think they kind of call it at that point.
Yep.
So that's good to see from the ref for sure.
Yeah, and speaking as a Bayern fan, even Davies got a yellow right away, which means he won't be at the second leg in Munich. Deserved yellow. Kane's yellow was also deserved, at least from my standpoint.
Yeah, if you're an Arsenal fan, you probably would say that Kane's was a direct red um, for that elbow, but
Maybe an orange.
they did say that on the broadcast in orange, which let's not even get started on the whole blue card sin bin conversation.
That's
But
another episode.
yeah,
Yeah. But I will mention too, I don't really know if this is being talked about much, but I know that Tuchel talked about it. And Tuchel was pissed about it. Max Eberl, who's one of the new directors at Bayern, I think sporting director is his title. He's one of the top three guys at Bayern. He was pissed about it, but yeah, there was a just a blatant handball on Arsenal. I don't know if you saw that. Like the goalie kicked it, I forget to who, but he just picked it up with his hands and then just like set it down and adjusted the ball. And the explanation given from the referee, according to Tuchel, was it was just a child's mistake. And that
yeah, it must
seems that seems insane to just be like, oh, whatever, it was just a mistake.
right. Like the ref maybe blows a whistle. Arsenal is saying they didn't hear it or something, so they retake the kick or
Yeah.
whatever. I saw a brief video. I don't know, one of those things that you probably don't even really hardly notice live.
Yeah.
I get the frustration from Tuchel. I also kind of just think I don't want to see a penalty from that, if I'm being honest, and ruin a
Yeah, I mean
Champions
that'd be
League
gnarly.
game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I thought it's worth bringing up. I guess it's worth
Oh, for sure.
mentioning because I've never seen that before. Even
Yeah,
as
me
a new
either.
fan, I've never seen it
Right.
before.
I'm
Yeah.
sure it's happened and they've actually called it and it's affected a match, you know?
Yeah, but I can see the point too that you're saying, like, and that's also kind of how I felt about the penalty at the non-call penalty at the end there. Like, I don't know if I want to see a Champions League match like decided by something like that. I know that's a different situation, but yeah.
Yeah, so pretty much exactly similar to a basketball game when you say you don't want to see the ref call foul at the end when the guy's going up for a shot. Same
Yeah.
exact scenario.
Yep. Um, so yeah, I'll just run through some very brief player rankings right now. Because I kind of talked about the players throughout this, but yeah, I'm giving Neuer a 7. Solid game from Neuer. I thought yeah, we talked about his ballsy moment at the end there. Um Davies, I'm giving a 2. It's might be harsh, maybe it should be a 3. But yeah, I don't know. Because like you said, he did get up quite a bit in some like scenarios where things were breaking down. He did some good things, but man, I saw a lot of chances given up by Davies. And what irks me more is he didn't seem to like hustle or like have the gumption or like heart to try to fight back or do anything. He would just kind of something would happen to him. He would just kind of stand there, and then it would be up to Serge or Eric Dyer, two people who shouldn't be like I don't know, the last buck when Davies is out there, you know?
Yeah, that's fair.
Um, yeah, and then I guess Delict, Dyer, and Kimmich, I'm giving them all 5s. I thought it wasn't Delict's strongest match. There were a couple moments from him that I was a little bit disappointed about. Like there's one challenge that I'm thinking of, one time where someone kind of got around him where I thought he should have done better. Um, but overall, those guys kind of did what they had to do. And I'm still at this point, I guess, while injuries are how they are, in the camp of I want Kimmich at right back still. Um, so yeah, then I mentioned Conrad Leimer, giving him a 5 too. He kind of exceeded my expectations for what I thought he was gonna do in this match, but again, I don't really know how he fits on Bayern. I'm giving Goretzka an 8. I thought, especially in the first half, he was incredible. He had a couple that we talked about, just beautiful, like through balls and like deep balls and setups that were like, man. And he also defended, he held his weight in the midfield very well against a strong Arsenal side in that area.
Agreed.
Yeah, so then kind of up to the attackers. Musiala, I'm giving him a 6. He did some stuff that I liked, but again, I don't know if he wants to play in that middle position so badly or what, but he's just so much more effective as a winger. He did some nice things like he always does. He's always um Musiala magic. You know, he's always dribbling through defenders in crazy ways that's like blowing my mind. Um, but nothing like super concrete to show for it. Then I'm giving Sané an 8. I think this was his best match in a really long time. Um, Man, it would have been nice to see him put one away because I've just been dying for it for so long. I kind of had a tweet earlier today about Sané, so I guess go check that out. But I appreciate how he seems to truly care about the club. Um, Even though he's slumping and he's playing through injuries. And I don't know why Tuchel like starts him and plays him damn near 90 minutes every single match, like while he's injured. It makes no sense to me. And he has options, you know. He has Tell, he has Coman, he has Gnabry, like he has other guys that can play wing. Um, but yeah, Sané had a ton of good moments in this match that I thought like really broke things through for Bayern. And then Kane, I'm giving an 8. He scored that goal. He had some nice like breakthroughs again where he's playmaking and facilitating. Um, would have been nice to see him in the box more, which we talked about. Then my man of the match is Serge Gnabry with a 9, just because as I mentioned, the defense he played along with the offense, like that can't be easy to play so solidly from both ends.
Yeah, I'm just looking at this now too. I was looking at the stats quickly because I was thinking about Harry Kane. I think he only had one shot, and it
I think so
was
too.
the he might have had two shots if you count the pen, I guess, but
There's
that's crazy. Yeah, I mean, he clearly just wasn't as far up as you'd like to see him. I mean,
yep.
that's really crazy to see him with. I mean, they only had eight total as a team, so it's not crazy, but it is crazy at the same time. So
Th- There's I mean, there were tons of times where I saw Kane like completely on the other end of the field, and obviously that's partially him just being that committed. There's a lot of times where he really is playing good defense too. Um, but more so it's the tactics and it's where he's positioned. Yeah, I I've talked a lot about that already.
gotta
Kind of
feed him the ball.
gotta feed him the ball, yeah. Then I thought our subs were all right too. Kingsley Coman, we mentioned, had that really great chance at the end, giving him a six. He wasn't on for very long. Rafael Guerrero came on, I think, to kind of try to match one of their sub situations. He held his own. I'm giving him a five. He didn't really affect the match one way or the other, but he definitely held his own, which isn't easy to do against Arsenal. And I think that was the only other sub that Bayern had, if I'm not mistaken. So, those are kind of my overall thoughts on the match. I don't know if you have anything else.
Well, that's pretty much all I had overall. Just a great match, and you're gonna look for Bayern to do a lot of the same next time against Arsenal in the second leg.
Yeah, hopefully the fans will be lighting off some pyrotechnics in Munich now.
Which reminds me that there were fireworks during this match, and the broadcast you could hear them outside the stadium. Commentators talked about it, which was a bit ironic.
Yeah, yeah, uh, yeah. I thought so too. Um, so yeah, that leads. I guess that leads us to Bayern's next match in the Bundesliga, which who knows? Who knows what that's gonna bring? Against Cologne. Sorry if I'm saying that wrong, because man, that's a strange looking word.
Boom.
Yeah, the Google voice sounds pretty funny. I've heard people say it and it sounds like they're saying clone. I don't know. But anyways, yeah, they're down. I think they're 16th or 18th or they're bottom of the table right now. They're kind of
17th, yeah.
they're of course. They're bouncing around right now. They actually had a win last week against Bochum, which I think maybe moved them up to that 17th spot. Uh but yeah, that's this Saturday, April 13th at 8:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. Bayern remains in second place in the table with 60 points. Tied, I believe, point wise with Stuttgart, but Bayern has a great goal differential. I think it's like plus like 44 or something like that.
It is
Um,
44 on the dot. Stuttgart is only 30, so as long as Bayern stays the same or above, they should be in good shape to stay in second.
yeah. Yeah, I mean that's what you got to hope for. If you're Bayern right now, I guess the other thing that I'm hoping for is injuries. We talked about Surge. Man, that bummed me out. But yeah, they got to get healthy. They have a lot of guys that are banged up right now. I I mean Pavlovich, I guess is healthy. He's training and he traveled with the team. Um, I would love to get in the ear of that man's doctor, or I was gonna say dentist, but it's not the dentist that works on your tonsils. Um, he's got to get those removed in the summer, right? I think there's no question about it at this point.
I'm certainly no expert on tonsils, so I don't want to comment and give away any advice. So I have to put some notice in this
Yeah.
comment section. But
Yeah.
yeah, injury wise and health wise, if I'm Bayern playing at home against a bottom of the table team, honestly, I'm resting a decent amount of your important players. That if they're slightly injured, I'm probably resting Neuer to be frank.
Me too.
Even though Cologne is a team that is desperate for a win because they don't
Hmm.
want to get relegated, I still think it's going to be a breeze for Bayern. They really shouldn't have any trouble playing with some momentum from this Arsenal draw, I think. So I'd look to either completely rest some guys that are kind of on the 50-50 line health-wise, or only play them, 55, 60 minutes if you want to play them.
Yeah, I totally agree. And yeah, Cologne not horrible in their last five. They have three draws, one win, and one loss, which is kind of interesting. Um, I also want to say that they lost to Leverkusen like 1-0 or something, and it was like a really close match for most of it. Like maybe like 3 or 4 weeks ago or something. Whereas Bayern's last five in the Bundesliga, you got two wins, two losses, and one draw. So interesting. But I agree with what you said. I don't even know what my ideal lineup is right now, recording this on Tuesday after Arsenal. All I can think about is that Arsenal match. But if you follow the Twitter, we'll get some lineup predictions and some ideal lineup situations, I think, out there before the match. Um, yeah, I mean, if I'm Tuchel, I'm probably resting. I'm definitely resting Sané. I'm probably resting Gnabry. I'm probably resting Coman. Um, it'd be nice if Tell got some minutes. I'm maybe resting Pavlovich again. I have no idea what the hell is going on with him. Like I said, I think well, I don't know about this week, but in the Bundesliga season, you definitely got to get Upamecano and Kim some minutes at the center back position. And then like you really have to make a decision, I think, on a lot of players in the summer. Um, and yeah, I guess the other thing to mention too is like Kane is still chasing the Bundesliga goal record. So I wouldn't be surprised if he keeps playing. I mean, he's a guy who can play 90 minutes and it's like fine, because he's a striker.
Yeah, he's a guy I would expect to probably play 80 some minutes, and then maybe somebody comes in, you throw a young guy in for 10 when you're up 5-0.
Yeah, that's
I
true.
will
Chupo
say,
Chupo should get some minutes probably.
yeah, I mean, the only other thing I'll add about Cologne is that they have a really sweet logo. They're also
Little
known as the
goat.
Billy Goats. Yeah, they're known as
Yeah.
the Billy Goats, and that logo is sick. Look out on Twitter, always Beche for a match preview this week because that logo, you're not going to want to miss it. Sweet logo. So that's what they got going for them.
100%. Yeah, check that out. Again, apologies for this kind of weak match preview, but it is what it is. I'm focused on Arsenal right now. And the line, it's not even worth it to do a lineup preview at this point with injuries and health and Bundesliga status and this, that, and the third, I guess. But yeah, look out for the Twitter. And look out for this weekend too. We'll do a reaction to that Cole Mats match slash a Chelsea preview. They play Everton on Monday.
Everton.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. Um, so I guess this is just an always Bayern episode, but
Yeah, honestly, Saturday's match for Bayern, one of those you wake up, you flip it on, you're just there for a good time watching a Bayern easy win, hopefully. And then
hopefully
you look ahead to the next week in the second leg against Arsenal. So that's kind of what I'm looking at it
you got a prediction for that one?
for Bayern against Cologne.
Yeah.
If I had to say a prediction, it would be that Bayern wins quite easily. But for my official prediction, you'll have to wait a couple days till the match preview comes out.
Dang. My official prediction, you don't have to wait for. You can get it right here, right now. It's 3-0 Bayern, baby. We're riding high off of this trip to London. Um, but yeah, I'm already worried and kind of like not worried, just kind of like antsy thinking about next Wednesday at the Allianz Arena against those Gunners. Stay tuned.
Gooners, more like.
Yeah, I guess we can truly see if they're frauds.
They are.
Yeah. Well, awesome. Well, I'll end this like I always do. Go Bayern.
Up the Chels.
Check out the video on YouTube.